How do you prepare yourself for AlienCon? Since AlienCon is organized for the fans of the Ancient Aliens TV show on the History Channel, you could watch all 13 seasons of Ancient Aliens. I personally have never seen an episode of Ancient Aliens. When I attended AlienCon 2016 in Santa Clara, California, I went there to meet Katie Stackhoff of Battlestar Galactica and Reimer, and Joel Strait of Firefly. As a science fiction and fantasy fan, I had no interest in the Ancient Aliens TV show, but I did learn how die-hard some of the show's fans are. If you haven't seen my AlienCon 2016 video, the link can be found in the card above or the description below. You could watch all 9 seasons and the 2 mini-seasons of the X-Files that covered the UFO conspiracy theories quite thoroughly. Or, if you're a reader like me, you can read the 1981 science fiction novel Genesis by W.A. Harbinson. My name is cdreimer and welcome to my channel. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and click on the notification bell to see more videos like this. I was 13 years old when I came across Genesis by W.A. Harbinson at a grocery store paperback rack in 1982. When you don't have access to a bookstore, the paperback rack at a grocery store or a drugstore has a peculiar selection of romances, bestsellers, and odd science fiction and fantasy novel. You shouldn't confuse Genesis by W.A. Harbinson with the book of Genesis from the Bible. One book is about UFO conspiracy. Another book is about an old white guy who looks like George Jones. For this video, I will be discussing the first 2 chapters that provide the historical context and kicks off the story. Genesis starts off with a U.S. Air Force B-25 bomber over Nazi Germany during World War II when they encountered Foo Fighters that looked like balls of fire. The term Foo Fighters was the catchphrase for unidentified flying objects, or UFOs, in the 1940s. Not to be confused with the rock band Foo Fighters that formed in the 1990s, with Foo Fighters flying in ways that defied the laws of physics, disrupting the aircraft and freaking out the airmen. The bomber fell out of the night sky. The next chapter begins in 1974 with an old UFO researcher and a young UFO researcher flying out by helicopter to look at the dead body of another older UFO researcher who committed suicide inside his car by the side of a desert road. During the helicopter flight, they discussed numerous UFO sightings throughout the U.S. that year and the reliability of witnesses' memory during close encounters. A police officer trained in observation is more reliable than most other witnesses. When they arrive at the desert roadside, the highway patrol officer gives them the bum rush, as the older UFO researcher argued that his friend couldn't have committed suicide, despite evidence to the contrary. After getting back into the helicopter and circling over the crime scene, they notice a crop circle in the surrounding landscape to indicate that the area was recently visited by a UFO. The rest of the novel is about the UFO researchers unraveling an international conspiracy that began in World War II. Nazi Germany started researching and developing all kinds of technology to build war machines. Everything that was theoretical in the 1920s and 1930s became reality in the 1940s and the decades thereafter. The most obvious example from that era was the development of rockets. After the Allies won the war, The Americans and the Soviets divided up Nazi rocket scientists for their own ballistic, missile, and space programs. Werner von Braun designed not only the V-2 rocket that killed 9,000 people directly and 12,000 slave laborers indirectly, but also the Saturn V rocket that took man to the moon. The premise of Genesis is, what if a Nazi German scientist escaped capture by the Americans and the Soviets to continue developing technologies that some might consider out of this world, say flying saucers that defies the law of known physics. Reading this novel as a 13-year-old blew my mind, and I had read it several times as an adult. If you can't watch every episode of Ancient Aliens or the X-Files, reading Genesis is a good introduction to UFOs. If you're interested in buying the ebook from Amazon, an affiliate link can be found in the description below. Leave a comment below on how you will prepare for AlienCon. Thank you for watching.